all of us, one day or the other, or one time or the other, will need to confront. We are going to be confronted one way or the other, one time or the other, with one challenge or the other. So we are all going to be confronted with issues. We are all going to be confronted one time or the other, one way or the other, at a stage in our life. We are going to be confronted with crisis. We are going to be confronted with adversaries. We are going to be confronted with problems, troubles. That's just how life is. We are all going to be confronted with these things. Maybe sorrow, maybe challenges. But most people don't know how to rightly respond when they are confronted with this kind of challenges. So, and that's what I want us to deal with today. So, how do we rightly respond to challenges when we are confronted with them? How can we rightly respond? And what is the right response and what are the wrong responses? So because there is the right response and there is the wrong response. So let us talk about that. So how do we respond correctly to times of challenges, sorrow, to adversaries, to problems, to troubles, to crisis? What is the best response to crisis? What is the best response to crisis? Response determines everything. You see, sometimes it's not about what happened to us. Sometimes it's how we respond that really matters. So the same thing could happen to two different people, but they will have different outcome. And what determines their outcome is their responses. So it doesn't matter how terrible the things that has happened to you has been, or how horrendous things that you are going through are, but how you respond to it is what really matters. Because some people have closed the doors of their lives, the biggest doors of their lives, just because of their wrong responses. Because Jesus actually spoke about that in a different form, but I like the way he spoke about it. It's a brilliant way. Jesus said that offense will surely come. Pastor, offense will surely come, and but the problem is not that offense will not come. So every one of us will have challenges, and we'll have offense come our way, and challenges, adversaries, and crises come our lives. But it says, blessed are those who are not offended. Blessed are those. So offense will come, but will you be offended or you will not be offended? That's what the question is. So the ability not to be offended when offense comes, is what we want to learn. And you don't want to complicate your situation with your response. You don't want to make the situation even worse than it should be just because you are not responding well. So things could be horrible already. It is, when crises are there, or when troubles come, or when problems come, that is already as bad as possible. That's already horrible, isn't it? But it could actually be more complicated. It could get worse. And get worse just because of your wrong response, just because of your response. But on the other hand, just like there are wrong responses, so also there are right responses. So if you could respond wrongly to a bad situation, so then we also want to know what can we do to actually have the right response to whatever thing that happens in our life and whatever thing we're going through. So that's what we're going to deal with today. Now, let me start this by saying, what is our normal response when we have issues or crisis? What is normally our normal response? What is our normal response? Most of us respond like, why me? Are you familiar with that kind of response? and we always ask the question, why should this happen to me? Why me, Lord? Why me, Lord? Am I the worst person in the world? Why me, God? Why me? Why me? Or some people even go ahead to say, God, where are you? Where are you? Where are you, God? Why should this happen to me? Why? I think that is probably a response that everybody could identify with, right? That's probably a response that everybody could identify with, like saying, Oh, I can't believe this is happening to me. I can't believe. So, but the bad thing about that kind of response, I personally have worked on myself to to never ever say that anymore. As I was growing in the Lord, I became aware that that kind of response is not just not right, but it's not godly as well. Even though it seems normal, like, oh, why me? But I began to think on it myself, and I began to say, okay, what am I trying to say? So these things could happen to other people, but not to me, right? Okay, why me? Why me means, why me? Let it happen to that guy. Okay, let it happen to anyone, but why me? But that is not just selfish. It's a little bit, it's a little bit evil response, because, okay, of course we say, oh, no, I don't want it to happen to anybody. But it has been happening to other people before, isn't it? And it still happens to other people. But the problem, your own concern is, why me? But when it happens to other people, you don't say, why them? Let it happen to me. You don't say that. But when it happens to you, you say, why me? Let it happen to anybody else, but not me. I will sympathize with them. I will comfort them. I will help them, but why me? Because we think that we are better than that. We think that bad things don't have to happen to us. We think that bad things only have to happen to other people, and that we are so special, and because we are so special, that things should not happen to us that we don't like. But funnily enough, most of those things that we say, why me, though, they are some of the things that have really been sent into our lives to make us who we're supposed to be. Those things have been allowed and have been they have been sent into our lives just for us to be the best that we could be, so yeah. So that is why so it has to happen to me or you. Why me? Why you? Well, because there is a destiny that we all have, that God is taking us to, and there is a place, a journey. We're on a journey, and there is a character that God needs to build in you, and there is there are some qualities that God needs to have in you, and some of those things will not come just by themselves, or they will not come like a magic. Some of those things will only come through your, through what you go through, and it is only your experiences that mold you, and we are all a product of our own story, experiences, and all that. So it is your experience, and if you don't experience something like that, if you don't experience something that will form you, that will mold you into whom you are supposed to be, then you will never become that person. You will never become that person. So why me? Well, that answers the question, why me? Because you have a destiny that you need to face. You have to, why is it not happening to those guys? Those guys never have problems. That's what you think. But they are having problems, proportional to their destiny. And you are having the problem proportional to your destiny. So you are having a challenge that is meant to make you whom you are supposed to be. So, you don't worry about other person. They are going to go through whatever they need to go through to become who they are supposed to be as well. I used to have this question, especially when I was a kid growing up in my village in Nigeria. I used to look at our family used to be well off. Then we lost everything all of a sudden, and we became so poor, one of the poorest in the village. And then I would look around at the people who are doing well, and I would say, wow. I would just say, why should they have everything going on? Even they have more than they need. They have so much, good things going on for them. These people are so blessed. But why me? Why are we so horribly poor? And why are we so despicably, just in need? And I used to think like that. But I used to think those people never ever have problems. Why is it that some people never have problems and other people have all the problems? But today, like 50 years later, I'm looking back, let's say 40 years later, because when I was 40 years later, I'm looking at those same families, those same people that I used to envy, and I used to say, why should God give them everything and they never ever have problems? Those same people today, not just today, but over the years, over the course of life, they've been having so much problem. And they've been in so much crisis. Actually, I'm actually coming to some conclusion that you either have your challenges and your troubles when you are a kid, or when you are growing up as in your family as a teenager or as a kid, or you end up having those problems or troubles later in life. Because those people who have problems when they're growing up, or poverty or lack or things like that, it kind of mold them earlier into who they need to become. Then those people who didn't have those kind of challenges, because they didn't build those muscles, they didn't have those strength, and so later on in life, they kind of pay for it, and because life will still teach you what it needs to teach you. So that's why sometimes it's good that parents actually allow their kids and their children to go through tough time and to be disciplined while they're growing up, because that will build their muscles to be able to cope with what's going on. That what's going to go on in life, because life is a tough game. Life is a tough business. Life is a war, and life is tough. So if you are not equipped for it, you are going to die in that war, and many people perish in the battle of life, and that's because they've not been equipped for it. They've not been equipped for it. So that's what I discovered. Yes, the other day, one of my friends, my school child friend, one of my school friends. I mean, we grew up from primary school. We went to the same school from primary school, 6 years old. So, and then he comes on my platform now, and I was telling him, where are our mates, where are our friends that were growing up together? Why is it that you are the only one I see on my platform here from Nigeria? And he said, you know what? I said, do they know at all? Do they know who this is, the same Pastor Sunday? He said, you know what? Let me tell you what, Pastor Sunday. You know what, Pastor? Even me, I couldn't believe that this is the same Sunday that we used to go to grow up together and play around in that village. He said, I couldn't just believe it. I'm looking at you every day and I'm still cannot believe it. I'm talking to you, but I still can't believe it. This is the same Sunday that we were playing around in the village. Nobody from that kind of village or from that kind of background becomes who you became. I mean, they were well off. They were well off. In my eyes, they were the good guys that I wanted to be like. I wanted to be like from their families. But today it's just like a dream. Everybody is just shocked. They said everybody is just shocked. Nobody can even believe it. In fact, some people are still thinking, no, maybe it's not the one. I mean, we are seeing the face is the one, but it's not the one. No, it's cannot be. What am I talking about? The challenges that you are going through today, that does not always necessarily bad. It's not necessarily bad for you. Because the challenges that I going through those days, I thought they were bad for me. They were the horrible things, the most horrible thing that's going to happen, that God was not fair, that life was not fair, that how could God allow me to go through that kind of thing? I didn't know they were molding me to become a wonder that I became today. So all those people that were having everything nice and they didn't go through the challenges, now they are going through their challenges. Now they are going through those things. So I remember one of our friends that were growing up together as well. So I asked him, I said, what about this guy? I mentioned the name of the guy. I forgot the last name, but he knew, because that was the, that was the guy that was one of the guys that was well off in our team. And I mean, this guy was having from secondary school. That was like when he was 14 or 16, he was having a car already. I mean, you having a car already from 15. From 14, 15, 16. He was already in a car, having a car of his own. I mean, living big. So I said, what has he done now? And he was telling me, no, he has not done much. He went to university, he finished, but because he's been living on his parents' money, he's still not, I mean, he's finished university like 20 years ago, he's not working, he's not making it, things are just tough for him and things like that, even though his family is still wealthy, but he cannot find himself in life. He cannot just do anything with his life. And so family problems and all kind of things. Well, I mean, nothing in life. And those are the people, I was actually thinking, that guy should be in America somewhere, or that guy should be in England somewhere, changing the world, or that guy should be in Nigeria, being one of the movers and shakers of the country. Nope, 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 nope. If you didn't pay that price when you were growing up, you are going to pay it later. If you didn't pay that price when you're growing up, you're going to pay later. Life, you need to be molded into who you are, who you need to be. So asking the question, like, why me? And why should this happen to me? It doesn't change anything anyway. And, but what I mean is that you don't ask that question in terms of negative regret. Because when I was asking those kind of questions, I was asking them in regret. But you could actually ask the questions if you want to improve yourself. So let's say you want to make yourself better and you want to, find out what you could improve. Then you could ask those questions. You could say, okay, why is this happening to me? Or why should this happen to me in terms of how can I maximize this? How can I learn from this? How can I possibly use this to my advantage? How can I change myself for the better, thanks to the situation that I'm going through? So you might be able to ask that question, that why me? But if you are asking it in terms of to learn from it, to learn from your trouble, from your crisis, from your challenges, then of course. Then it's a good question to ask. You ask the question so that you don't repeat that problem, you don't repeat that, you don't fall into that situation again, or so that because if you don't learn from it, you're going to fall into it again. If you don't learn, it's just like repeating a class. If you don't pass the exam, just like life. If you have not passed the exam of some situations, you have some experiences you go through in life, you are going to learn, you are going to repeat those mistakes again. You're going to repeat those same things again because you have not learned the lesson why they were allowed in your life in the first place. But so that's why in that term, or in that sense, yes, you might want to ask the question, why me? And what can I do? What can I learn from this situation and all that? But we must also know, though, that why me? That question, you might never get the answer. Because when you are asking the question, why me? You want some explanation, right? Sometimes explanation will not make sense to you. Whatever. So at that particular time when you are going through that thing, an explanation might not always make sense to you. Like, for example, when I was going through my challenges and my troubles when I was growing up in Africa, even now, some of the troubles I go through, I used to think and I wonder why those problems, why those challenges. And but I've learned not to ask that question again, and I've learned to just believe God and trust. And that's one of the greatest things that could happen to you when you are in trial and when you are going through some crisis or problems. Learn to trust. Learn to trust God. Just learn to trust. Trust God that He knows better and He's going to fix it. He knows why this is happening to me. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to murmur. I'm not going to, I'm not going to whine. I'm just going to trust. In fact, as a matter of fact, one of the reasons why God allows all our situations, crises, adversaries, and problems, is for us to be able to trust Him better. It's for us to be able to leave everything in His hands. But most of us, we don't want to leave things in God's hands. We want to make sure that things are in our hands and under our control. So, but in this situation and in any situation, God is always after us trusting Him, believing in Him, and putting our trust in Him that He knows better and that He meant well for us, and that whatever happens is meaning well for us and is wanting us to have the best. But the point I'm trying to make is that explanations might not always be readily available for you in the natural realm. Even though God has explanation at all times for anything that happens to you or that you are going through, but God knows for sure that you are not ready for that explanation. I mean, for example, when somebody's loved one dies, maybe your husband, maybe your son, maybe your daughter, or somebody that is so precious to you, when a person like that dies, I mean, what kind of explanation do you want? What kind of explanation will make sense to you? They are not going to make sense to you, especially if they don't have a direct relationship or a direct, benefit to you right now. We don't want to mix. We don't want to understand things that don't positively benefit us immediately. And so all those theories that it's going to benefit you later, or it's going to benefit the world later, or it's for the best, or God knows better, or it's in heaven, all those things, they don't comfort you too much right now. And you want to get an answer right now. And you want to get an answer to see that that answer is good for you. But, believe me, there is an explanation. But it's not always an explanation that you can get now. But the way life has been structured, the way God has made life is such that later on, you will most likely get an answer. As you grow, as you mature, as you advance in life, you will probably get an answer. I mean, we had a terrible experience in our life, in our family, when the three most prominent members of the family, were wiped out in 6 months. Three most successful members of our family all died in a period of 6 months. 6 months. And, this is the most successful. All the ones that were not successful, nobody touched them. They were there, they were living, and they couldn't do anything. They couldn't benefit anyone. But the only ones who could benefit anybody, not just one of them died, not two, although all the three of them were just gone. So, how could you have ever understood that or explained that? But today, with what is going on in my life, there is a better explanation. And with what I know is still going to go on, first of all, we would not have even come to know the Lord, because we would have been relying and putting our trust on the sufficiency of our parents, of our relatives, and we would have been. And secondly, I would have been in Russia. I would have been able to fulfill my destiny here. They would have sent me somewhere else, but not Russia. So a lot of things happen to you now that you might not be able to explain, but that might have, explanation when you grow up, when you become mature, as you advance in life and in age, and when you learn some things, you'll be more ready to receive explanation or to understand why those things happen and what is going on. So there will be time for it. There will be time for it. So there will be understanding, later on in life. And most of the things that happen, even if Satan did them, even if they are evil, even if it is the enemy that has wreaked those havoc in your life, God still is so good that He can still turn those things for good. He can still turn them around. And even when it is Satan that is doing it, God can still make something beautiful out of the things that Satan meant for evil. So no matter how bad things are, and no matter how terrible the troubles that you are facing right now, God will, if you believe God and if you respond properly and normally, if you have a good and positive response, God will know how to turn. God knows for sure how to turn those things for your good. How to turn those things. So you might not always have an answer right now, but there is an answer. And that answer is not going to be against you. It's for you. It's for you. It's for your good. It's for your good. If you have been watching our videos and maybe you enjoy them, maybe you don't enjoy them, But still, we need you to help us spread the word. And for that to happen, we only need you to take 5 little steps. Please help us spread this word by liking the video. Then, if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We also need you to press the notification button, and the way to do that is to click on the bell. You see the bell there? Click on it. Then, of course, leave your comments. Let's know what you're thinking about each video. And finally, we need you to go and share the word. Share this video on your Facebook timeline, on your Instagram, and every other platform that you have. All right? Let's win the world for Christ. Thank you so much.